There's a fundamental error in the code you've been running, a glitch in the program you were taught to call being good. Since you were a child, you've been instructed to be the quiet one, the flexible one, the one who adapts, to offer your shoulder, your time, your energy, and to never ask for anything back. And look at you now, drained, anxious, a little bitter, and holding on to a quiet hope that one day, someone will see the exhaustion behind your smile. But the rescue team is not coming, because no one sent a distress signal. You've been silently drowning while making sure everyone else has a life vest. This isn't nobility. It's a profound act of self-erasure. You were not put on this earth to be a human shock absorber. You were put here to become an anchor. So today, I'm telling you something radical. Stop being so flexible. Start being selfish. We have confused agreeableness with goodness. We've been taught to see them as the same thing, but agreeableness is a defense mechanism. It's a strategy for avoiding friction, a way to navigate the world without ever causing a ripple. Being agreeable means you swallow your truth, you silence your gut feelings, and you say, it's fine, when your entire being is screaming, it's not. Goodness, true goodness, is something else entirely. It's built from integrity and a solid core. It arises from an internal alignment, where your actions match your values and your words reflect your soul, even if that truth makes others shift uncomfortably in their seats. Agreeableness is about being wanted. Goodness is about being whole. And the chasm between them is where so many of us get lost. When you start practicing intelligent selfishness, you finally begin to honor the laws of your own nature. You sleep when your body signals fatigue. You eat when you feel hunger. You say no to invitations that feel like obligations. You stop looking for external validation to take up space. This isn't hubris. This is basic human engineering. The universe doesn't reward those who run their own batteries down to zero for the sake of others. It rewards those who live in alignment, who recognize that their own energy is a finite, sacred resource and take charge of replenishing it. In this context, selfishness is an act of deep intelligence, the essential foundation for building a life of meaning and impact. The truth is, you cannot be an anchor for anyone if you are not firmly rooted yourself. When you pour all your focus into pleasing those around you, you have no energy left to secure your own position. You become just another piece of debris in the storm, another person for someone else to worry about. What began as a selfless desire to help turns into a desperate need to be saved. But when you anchor yourself first, when you tend to your own needs, you become a point of stability. Your calm becomes infectious. Your presence becomes a sanctuary. You stop offering the world your anxieties and start offering your grounded strength. That isn't selfish in the way we've been taught to fear. That's leadership. Many of those who identify as people pleasers are not truly altruistic. They are strategic. They are afraid. They fear being left out, criticized, or abandoned. So they become masters of adaptation, constantly shifting their shape to fit the needs of others while silently betraying their own form. Let's name this for what it is, a form of emotional bartering. When you contort yourself into a shape you think someone will love, you're not giving freely. You're trading your authenticity for a hit of approval. True relationships are never built on performance. They can only exist when you allow yourself to be seen with all your sharp edges and firm positions. Lose the costume. Let people encounter the real you, even if it means some of them will choose to walk away. It's time you understood that boundaries aren't insults. They are instructions. A no isn't a weapon. It's a compass. When you set a boundary, you aren't shutting people out. You are simply defining the terms of engagement. You're protecting your internal ecosystem, your peace of mind, your very life force. People might call you selfish when you stop being a 24/7 resource for them. But what they often mean is, you've stopped letting me set your priorities. Let them have their opinions. Your life is too valuable to be governed by the fear of disappointing others. When you choose this path of constructive selfishness, you don't lose connection, you gain clarity. You learn what replenishes your energy and what siphons it. You start to see which relationships are built on mutual respect and which are parasitic. You stop trying to explain your worth and simply start living it. And here's the beautiful paradox. This brand of selfishness doesn't isolate you. It deepens your connection to the world. You show up with more energy, more honesty, more genuine capacity to give. You stop needing to be chosen and start doing the choosing. And that shift is everything. Ultimately, you will see that being selfish is not about living for yourself by taking from others. It's about being so self-sufficient in your own energy and worth that you no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You can love without desperation, give without expecting a return, and support others without losing your own footing. You will stop folding yourself into smaller shapes to fit into rooms that were never meant for you. You will start standing tall in your own truth. Let the world call it whatever it wants. Let them not understand. But never again sacrifice your core just to be agreeable. Because your life isn't a negotiation, it's a declaration. When you feel thirsty, you get a glass of water. You don't take a poll of the room to see if it's convenient for everyone. You don't analyze whether your act of drinking will make someone else feel dehydrated. You simply drink because your survival depends on it. The same logic applies to your emotional and spiritual well-being. But at some point, you were taught that tending to these needs was a selfish luxury, not a biological necessity. You were conditioned to believe that your own peace of mind should come second to the comfort of the collective. But here's the flaw in that logic. No one else can manage your internal world for you. If you abandon your post, everyone, including those you seek to please, pays a price. Selfishness, in its enlightened form, isn't about being oblivious to others. It's about being intimately aware of yourself. When you tune into your own energy, your own boundaries, your own truth, you automatically cease participating in activities that dishonor your spirit. You stop attending events just to be seen. You stop agreeing to requests that fill you with dread. Instead, you operate from a place of alignment. You engage in the work and relationships that resonate with your purpose. This alignment is powerful. People feel the integrity of your presence because you are solid, not fragmented. Your giving is no longer transactional, driven by guilt or fear, but an authentic offering from a place of fullness. Most people equate selfishness with being heartless, arrogant, or dismissive. But true, conscious selfishness is profoundly intelligent. It is the recognition that you cannot help build a better world if your own foundation is cracked. You cannot cheerlead for others if you've lost your own voice. There is no honor in quiet suffering, no medal for being the last one to acknowledge your own pain. When you live in a state of disconnection from your needs, all of your efforts, even the most well-intentioned ones, become tainted. You get resentful. You become brittle, and your so-called generosity feels more like an obligation than a gift. Just as you wouldn't delegate your daily nutrition to a stranger, you cannot outsource your own mental and emotional health. This is why conscious selfishness is a non-negotiable practice. It is waking up each day and performing an internal systems check first. What do I require today? What is draining my battery? What will recharge it? What uncomfortable truth am I avoiding? A person who is selfish with this kind of awareness is not a threat. They are a force for stability. They are less susceptible to manipulation. They do not get caught in the webs of guilt, shame, or the endless pursuit of applause. Because they are anchored in themselves, they can engage with others without losing their balance. They know their limits and do not apologize for them. They don't make promises they can't keep. They realize that the greatest service they can offer the world is their own sanity, their own integrity, and their own alignment. This form of selfishness also cultivates a deeper compassion, not the pity that comes from a sense of obligation, but the empathy that comes from profound self-knowledge. You no longer get drawn into others' dramas because you're busy managing your own peace. You see their struggles, but you don't adopt them as your own. You become a living example of what it means to live with self-respect. You don't command, you demonstrate. You don't preach, you embody. And those who are ready will feel it. They will start to wonder about their own choices. Some may even be inspired to start their own journey towards self-possession. So let the word selfish be rehabilitated. See it anew. Reclaim it. Understand that to be consciously selfish is to be a good steward of the life you were given. You didn't come here to be a people pleaser, to whittle yourself down for the sake of appearances. You came here to grow, to blossom, to be so deeply planted in your own truth that your very existence gives others permission to do the same. Stop asking for permission to be whole. Just as the sun shines without apology, just as the ocean ebbs and flows without seeking consensus, you too must live in a way that is true to your nature. That isn't selfishness. It is integrity. You cannot be a power source for others if your own battery is perpetually at 1%. Yet, countless people operate this way every day. They give their attention, their support, their emotional labor, and their validation to everyone else without ever checking their own energy levels. They start the day already depleted, run on fumes, and end it feeling completely hollowed out. This constant output without any input isn't a virtue. It is a slow and steady process of self-abandonment dressed up as compassion. And inevitably, even the most resilient system will shut down under this kind of chronic drain. When you give before you are full, your generosity is contaminated. It is an exchange rooted in anxiety, not a gift from a place of abundance. You don't agree because you feel expansive, but because you're afraid of the conflict that might arise from saying no. You don't offer help because you are overflowing with capacity, but because you are afraid of being seen as uncaring. This isn't kindness. It's appeasement masked as connection. And appeasement always brings a shadow of resentment with it. Sooner or later, the weight of your own ignored needs begins to curdle your sweetness into bitterness, your patience into irritability, and your love into a quiet performance. Charging your own battery is not selfish, it is fundamental. It means consciously identifying and engaging with the things that restore you, that bring you back to center. It might be solitude, a walk in nature, reading a book, setting and enforcing boundaries, or simply the permission to do nothing without guilt. When you start to prioritize these things, you aren't hiding from the world. You are fortifying yourself to engage with it more meaningfully. You are making sure that when you connect, it's from a place of deliberate choice, not subconscious pressure. The idea that being a martyr for others is a noble pursuit is a dangerous illusion. A person who is tired, stressed, and internally barren cannot be authentically patient, loving, or present. If their interactions become transactional and tense, they get triggered more easily, feel chronically unappreciated, and quietly wish someone would step in and take care of them. But here is the hard truth. Most people are far too consumed with their own depleting batteries to notice yours. No one is going to come and plug you in. That is your sacred duty alone. When your battery is fully charged, your entire reality transforms. Your energy becomes a tangible asset. Your words have substance. Your presence is grounding. You stop being a reactor to external events and become a creator of your internal state. Your boundaries become clearer, not out of anger, but out of a deep respect for your own well-being. Your yes is potent and your no is clean, requiring no justification. People feel this shift in your field, even if they cannot name it. You begin to draw in relationships and circumstances that mirror your newfound self-respect. There's a powerful downstream effect as well. When people see you operating from a place of inner stability and self-honor, it quietly challenges their own paradigms. They start to question their own chronic exhaustion, their own patterns of over-giving. They begin to see that recharging oneself isn't a sign of weakness, but a hallmark of wisdom. Your full battery inspires others to stop running on empty. Without saying a word, your way of being begins to elevate the collective. So instead of trying to be the power source for the entire network, focus on becoming a fully charged, self-sustaining unit. Then give from your surplus, not from your core reserves. That is the kind of energy that truly helps, that lifts, that empowers. That is the kind of support that doesn't leave you drained. You were not designed to run dry. You were designed to be a light. And to do that, you must first tend to the source of the flame. The impulse to please is often mistaken for love. But if you look beneath the pleasant exterior, you'll find it's far more about fear. When a person constantly rearranges their own needs to accommodate others, reflexively says yes when their gut screams no, and polishes their personality to avoid any hint of conflict, it's not always an act of generosity. It's an act of self-preservation. These behaviors don't come from a place of inner wholeness or security. They are symptoms of a deep-seated fear. Fear of not being enough, fear of being rejected, fear of being abandoned. And while it may look like selfless giving, it is often a very subtle strategy to manage and control other people's perceptions. Trying to please everyone is, at its core, a manipulative act, however unconscious. You are kind so that you will be liked. You agree so that you will be included. You hide your true opinions so that you don't risk being challenged. This isn't a gift, it's a bargain. You are exchanging your own authenticity for a sense of safety. The smile, the nod, the quick agreement, they become your armor against discomfort. You start to internalize the false belief that connection must be earned through self-sacrifice, that harmony only comes from conformity, and that your value is determined by how little friction you cause. After years of this, the performance becomes utterly draining. You look around and realize you are surrounded by people who have never met the real you. You start to feel bitter when your immense efforts are taken for granted. But you're afraid to stop because the entire system of your relationships is built on this pleasing persona. You feel stuck in a role that is slowly suffocating you, but stepping off the stage feels terrifying. This is not a life lived, it's a life managed. And the price of this management is your own spirit, your own truth, your own freedom. Real love does not ask for a performance. It has no need for perfection or constant agreement. It can only flourish in the soil of truth. When you are brave enough to be honest about your needs, your boundaries, and your genuine thoughts, you send an invitation for real connection. Yes, some people will reject that invitation, especially those who benefited from your old, compliant self. But others will welcome it. The relationships that survive your transition to authenticity are the only ones that were ever real in the first place. They are built on a foundation of mutual respect, not on unwritten contracts of fear and silent expectation. Releasing the need to please is a profound act of rebellion. It means you stop making the emotional state of others your primary responsibility. It means you trust that you are worthy of love, even if you are not always agreeable. It means you stop walking on eggshells around the fear of being disliked and start striding confidently in the direction of your own truth. This transition may have moments of loneliness, but it's a sacred loneliness. The space between leaving the world of external validation and arriving at the home of inner alignment. There will always be temptations to revert to being agreeable because it often feels easier in the moment. But every time you choose your truth over social comfort, every time you utter a firm and gentle no, you reclaim a piece of your soul. You begin to understand that your worth is not a function of public opinion. It resides in your own integrity. This honesty becomes your power. It builds the fences that protect your energy and creates the gateways for deeper, more meaningful bonds. The more you let go of trying to manage what others think, the more centered you become. Life ceases to be a frantic effort to secure approval and becomes a real journey. You begin to think, speak, and live from a place of freedom, not from a place of calculation. You are no longer a reflection of what you think others want to see. You are a source, and that changes everything. There comes a moment when you have to stop pointing outward for explanations and start looking inward for responsibility. It's tempting to blame our upbringing, the system, our bad luck, or other people for the circumstances of our lives. It's a convenient story to tell ourselves that our unhappiness is the product of external forces beyond our control. But here is the uncompromising truth, regardless of your starting point, no matter what was done to you or what you were denied, the power to define your future rests entirely with you now. No one can live your life for you. No one can process your pain, dream your dreams, or make your choices. That authority belongs to you alone, and so does the accountability that comes with it. Taking responsibility does not mean taking the blame for everything that ever happened. It means taking command of your response. You cannot control the winds and the tides, but you can always control the set of your sail. You can either live as a perpetual reaction, blaming the waves for your position and remaining adrift, or you can take a deep, steadying breath, assess where you are, and ask, what must I do now? This is the beginning of all meaningful change. Not waiting for the world to change for you, but deciding to change your relationship with the world. Adulthood is the realization that your growth is your own project. Your peace is your own responsibility. It will not be delivered to you. If your mental health is struggling, it is your work to find the resources to support it. If your relationships are draining you, it is your task to establish boundaries or to walk away. If your days feel empty, it is your quest to discover what gives you meaning. No one else is going to solve your life for you, and no one else owes you the energy to fix the parts of yourself that you refuse to confront. This isn't meant to be harsh, it's meant to be liberating. When you take complete ownership of your life, you stop waiting for permission to be happy. You stop looking for external praise to feel validated. You stop letting your past write the story of your future. This kind of selfishness isn't destructive. It's the ultimate act of courage. It signals that you've stopped trying to delegate your own evolution. You've stopped hoping for a savior. You have switched from being a passenger to being the pilot of your own life. Life gains a new sharpness when you assume ownership. You no longer drift. You navigate. Your choices become deliberate. Your daily routines start to align with your highest values, not your deepest fears. You start pruning away the distractions and cultivating discipline. You cut the excuses and you build your strength. This is what creates real momentum, not just in how you feel, but in what you create, how you connect, and how solid you feel in your own skin. When you dodge responsibility, you live as a prisoner of your own narrative. But when you embrace it, you become the author. You see that each day offers a choice to build or to stagnate, to evolve or to repeat. Responsibility illuminates the path. It forces you to get clear on the life you truly want and what you are willing to do for it. And while that accountability can feel heavy, it is the weight that builds your muscle. It transforms you from a character in the story of your life into the storyteller. The most significant pivot you will ever make is the one from blaming to building. That is the moment the fog clears and your path forward appears. Not because it was hidden, but because you were finally willing to claim it. Responsibility is not the chain that binds you. It is the key that sets you free. The day you claim 100% ownership of your state of mind, your peace, and your path is the day you truly begin to live. No one else has to change for your new life to start. It starts with you. Guilt is one of the most toxic software programs running in the human mind, yet it is one of the most common tools for social conditioning. From a young age, we are often programmed to feel a pang of guilt for putting ourselves first, for saying no, for wanting something different, or simply for being in a way that doesn't neatly align with another person's comfort. Over the years, this programming becomes second nature. You start to feel guilty, not only for doing something wrong, but for doing something right that has the side effect of making someone else feel uncomfortable. This type of guilt is not a moral compass. It's an emotional leash. You are not on this planet to live a life that prioritizes everyone else's emotional comfort over your own spiritual survival. Your assignment is not to shrink your presence so others can feel large. Your purpose is not to amputate your dreams, postpone your healing, or dampen your own spirit just so that no one else feels threatened or left behind. If your authentic joy makes other people uneasy, That is their work to do, not yours. It is not your job to manage their internal reaction to your personal evolution. You are not accountable for how others filter your truth. You are only accountable for living that truth with as much integrity as you can muster. Those who have benefited from your guilt will often deploy the selfish label when you stop catering to them. They might accuse you of changing, of becoming cold or unfeeling. But what's really happening is that you've taken back the controls of your own life. You've stopped asking for approval before you act. You've stopped saying sorry for taking up space. And this shift in power is deeply unsettling to people who relied on your self-suppression to feel secure. Let them be unsettled. Let them navigate their own feelings. That is their path to walk, not yours to pave. You do not have to perform suffering to demonstrate that you care. You do not need to play small to prevent others from feeling small. Real, healthy love and genuine friendship flourish in an environment where all parties are encouraged to grow to their fullest potential. If someone genuinely cares about you, your happiness will be a source of joy for them, not a threat. They won't ask you to dim it, to hide it, or to apologize for it. They will champion your expansion, not resent it. And if your joy causes someone to leave your life, it simply reveals that the connection was conditional from the start. It was built on a foundation of control, not care. So many people treat guilt like an admission ticket they have to buy to earn love and a sense of belonging. They operate on the false premise that if they feel bad enough for their own needs, others will finally accept them. But guilt is a counterfeit currency. It buys you no lasting peace. It only keeps you tethered to a cycle of self-criticism and codependence. The more you allow guilt to dictate your choices, the more disconnected you become from your own internal guidance system. It poisons your spirit and compromises your judgment. It makes you doubt your needs, question your desires, and back away from the very things that make you feel alive. And all for what? To maintain the status quo in someone else's world. Releasing chronic guilt doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you an honest one. It allows you to engage in your relationships with authenticity, not with a quiet, simmering resentment. It helps you make choices based on wisdom, not on obligation. It frees you to be fully present for your own life, instead of constantly scanning the horizon for others' potential disapproval. Guilt, when it becomes a default setting, serves no one. It does not foster more love. It creates more distance from others and, most critically, from yourself. To live without unnecessary guilt is to live with a radical trust. Trust in your own inner goodness, trust in your own moral compass, and trust that honoring your own life is not a crime to be punished. If it makes waves, that is a sign of movement. You are allowed to grow, even if others choose to stay put. And you are allowed to be free, even if others remain in their own emotional prisons. Let the guilt go. It was never a reflection of your worth, only of your conditioning. There's a massive misunderstanding in our culture about the nature of boundaries. We are often taught that to say no is to be unkind, that to decline an invitation or to pull back from a situation that drains you is a failure of compassion. But the opposite is true. Boundaries are not acts of aggression. They are acts of self-respect. They are a sign that you value your own energy, your own time, and your own sanity. They are not about creating a fortress to keep people out. They are about curating the space you live in, so that when you do engage, you can do so with presence, honesty, and a full heart, not a resentful one. Saying no is not a declaration of war. It is a declaration of clarity. It is not a barrier designed for isolation, but a gate that you control, allowing in that which nourishes you and keeping out that which depletes you. When you say no to what is not aligned with you, you are simultaneously saying a powerful yes to your own peace, your own priorities, and your own well-being. Many people have been conditioned to believe that infinite accessibility is a synonym for love. But a love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love at all. It is a slow, quiet form of self-annihilation that ultimately leads to burnout, bitterness, and a profound loss of self. The reason many people are so uncomfortable with boundaries is that they are accustomed to unspoken agreements, not to direct communication. They have come to expect you to be endlessly adaptable, to conform to their agenda, and to deprioritize your own needs. When you suddenly start drawing clear lines and conserving your energy, it can feel like a personal rejection to them. They might label you as selfish, difficult, or uncaring, but what they are truly feeling is the loss of their unwritten access pass to your life force. They are being forced to confront the reality that your presence is not a resource to be plundered. It is never your duty to make other people comfortable by betraying your own truth. It is not your role to absorb the emotional fallout from those who are unwilling to honor your space. When you begin to implement boundaries, you are not inflicting harm on others. You are engaging in a radical act of self-healing. You are no longer making decisions from a place of guilt or fear of reprisal. You are breaking the cycle of committing, and then silently seething with regret. You are no longer trying to be the savior in every situation at the cost of your own soul. You are learning to choose alignment over acceptance. Boundaries are a form of education. They teach the world how to interact with you. When you begin to treat your time and energy as valuable, others are more likely to follow suit. But even if they don't, your new internal framework will no longer permit you to tolerate disrespect. You will no longer sacrifice your internal peace just to maintain a fragile external harmony. Real peace is not the mere absence of conflict. It is the presence of deep inner alignment, and that brand of peace is only accessible when you start to live with unwavering honesty instead of constant, soul-crushing compromise. There is zero nobility in being a jack of all trades for everyone else's needs. You are not here to endlessly prove your love through the currency of your own exhaustion. You are not here to be a human utility, stretched thin to meet every demand while your own tank runs on empty. You are here to live a full, vibrant life. And that fullness requires space. Space to breathe, space to think, space to recharge. Boundaries are what create that sacred space. They are the silent guardians of your soul's internal rhythm. Once you learn to honor them without needing to apologize, your life will feel fundamentally lighter. You will no longer offer a "ah yes" that comes from a place of pressure, or swallow a "no" that comes from a place of fear. You will start to move with a new kind of intention. You will state your truth and release the compulsion to justify it. You will stand firmly in your choices and let go of the guilt. And in doing so, you build a life that is anchored in personal strength, not in personal sacrifice. This isn't harsh. This is clear. And clarity is the bedrock of any real and lasting freedom. There comes a tipping point in your life when the effort of pretending is greater than the fear of being real. You wake up one day and the mask feels too heavy. You realize the smile you've been wearing is a costume. The agreeable words are a script, and the part you've been playing was written for someone else. Faking it is a draining full-time job, yet so many of us do it, motivated by a deep fear of rejection, judgment, or loneliness. But that fear is a slow poison to your soul, and slowly, your life becomes a series of quiet compromises instead of a bold statement of who you are. When you finally decide to drop the need to be liked and approved of by everyone, a profound sense of liberation takes hold. The heavy, artificial layers begin to flake away, and what emerges is you. Not a flawless version, not a polished persona, but an honest one. And honesty has its own powerful gravity. It may not win you popularity contests, but it will grant you freedom. You start to communicate with more precision, act with more conviction, and move through life without constantly twisting yourself into a pretzel to fit someone else's narrative. You stop trying to fit in and start to be yourself, even if it means you stand alone for a while. As your authenticity begins to radiate, some people will inevitably drift away. Those who were only in your life because you were convenient, easy, or reflected a version of them will no longer resonate with your newfound clarity. This might sting like a loss at first, but it is actually a cosmic recalibration. Life starts to remove the pieces that no longer fit, creating the necessary space for the ones that do. You don't need to chase anyone away or make dramatic pronouncements. You simply have to allow your truth to be the filter. What is false will fall away, and what is real will remain. Being alone in your integrity is infinitely better than being surrounded by people who love a version of you that doesn't exist. Solitude, when chosen from a place of strength, is sacred ground. In that stillness, you meet yourself. You get reacquainted with your own core values, your own deep-seated desires, your own unedited voice. The desperate need to be accepted at all costs dissolves. You begin to genuinely enjoy your own company, and that self-respect becomes the compass for every choice you make. The central question shifts from, what will they think, to, what is true for me? Authenticity is not about being perfect, it's about being congruent. It's when your inner world and your outer expression start to sing the same song. You stop living a life of internal contradiction. There is an immense peace in that alignment. Your presence becomes more potent, your energy becomes more coherent, and you start to magnetize people and opportunities that vibrate at the frequency of your core, not your facade. These connections might be fewer, but they are infinitely richer, more sustaining, and built to last. The universe can only give you what you have the courage to ask for. If you live your life begging for approval, you will attract an audience that applauds your performance, not your soul. But if you demand, not with aggression, but with quiet, unwavering conviction, truth, integrity, and respect, you begin to summon what is truly yours. You stop bartering for your worth. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You simply embody a standard that tells the world, this is me, and I'm done apologizing for it. When you stop pretending, you stop committing small acts of treason against yourself every single day. You stop censoring your own voice, your own dreams, your own light. This is the birthplace of real power. It isn't loud, it's not combative. It's solid, clear, and unshakable. The world will rearrange itself around this new clarity. The right people will gravitate toward you. The wrong ones will fade out. You don't need to force a thing. You just need to be brave enough to shed everything that isn't you. In that space, your truth finally finds you, and truth is always the beginning of peace.